Good Wednesday evening, everyone. We are tracking Francine is about to become a major hurricane as we go into Thursday and make landfall somewhere in the Big Bend area of Florida as we go into tomorrow evening. And then this thing is going to start moving pretty fast as we go to tomorrow, and it's going to race up into Georgia, where Atlanta could see hurricane force wind gusts tomorrow night, even up in there. So catastrophic damage is possible, and unsurvivable storm surge is possible as well. Up to 20 feet of surge is possible with waves, breaking waves on top of that. So, we have a lot of stuff to go over. So first, please click that thumbs up button, that like button. Comment where you're from, and please share this with your friends and family. This is going to be an epic storm system coming into the southeastern United States, and we even have tropical storm warnings all the way up into the mountains of North Carolina. This is going to be far-reaching effects with this system. So let's get right into it. All right, here is the latest satellite picture, the infrared basically. You can see where that center of circulation is. This is Cuba over here. Here's the Florida coast, basically up in this area here. So you can see it's really starting to get its act together, and big thunderstorms are really blowing up around the center. This thing should start rapidly intensifying as we go into overnight and throughout the day tomorrow. And it's going over some very warm waters. We're going to go over that here in just a minute as well. But let's take a look at the latest advisory as of 10 o'clock. All right, here is the latest as of the 10 o'clock advisory Central Time. Maximum sustained winds 85 miles per hour. Movements north at 9 miles per hour. It's going to start gaining steam here and then start moving more northeast as we go in through tomorrow, and then make its approach on the Big Bend region of Florida as we go into tomorrow evening. Now, you can see the expansive area of tropical storm warnings and hurricane warnings in the red here, including parts of Florida, getting all the way up into parts of eastern Alabama, all the way up into central parts of Georgia. This is hurricane warnings all the way up into central Georgia. The rest of Georgia under tropical storm warnings. All of South Carolina basically under a tropical storm warning, and then even up into the mountains of North Carolina, tropical storm warnings as well, all the way back into parts of Alabama and into the panhandle of Florida as well. There is a hurricane watch still up across the western parts of Florida here, peninsula, including the Tampa Bay area as well. All right, here is a better look at Hurricane Helene as it goes through the Gulf of Mexico. Expected to be 110 mile per hour hurricane on a threshold of a major hurricane tomorrow morning, and then rapidly intensify into a Category 4 hurricane as it approaches the Big Bend area of Florida Thursday evening. Even as we go through Atlanta, this could still be a hurricane as it heads up through the central parts of Georgia, with gusts up to 100 miles per hour possible in southwestern parts of Georgia, and then even hurricane force gusts all the way up into Atlanta. By Friday morning, it's north of Atlanta and still a pretty strong tropical storm, 60 mile per hour tropical storm. And then we have an upper level low that's sitting back here towards Arkansas, and we're going to have this effect where these things are going to pinwheel around each other. That's why this hurricane is going to come up into Tennessee and kind of pinwheel back towards Missouri into Arkansas because of this upper level low, kind of dragging it back. These two systems will eventually combine, but there's going to be lots and lots of rain, flooding, especially in the southern Appalachian Mountains here. There with all the basically kind of like an upslope flow, orographic effects as well. There could be feet of rain in through parts of the southern Appalachians, and we'll go over that here in just a second. But here's the forecast track as of 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock Eastern. There's, like I said, the impact's this is just the center of the circulation. This is basically where the eye wall will be. This is where the track is. Outside, there's going to be far-reaching effects with this system. Okay, this is a very large system. We're going to look at the wind field here in just a second, but this is going to be far-reaching effects, and that's why there is so many people under either a hurricane warning, tropical storm warning, stuff like that. Surge is going to be unbelievably high across the Big Bend area. It's going to be unsurvivable storm surge coming into parts of the Big Bend area. Let's get into that here in just a second. Alrighty, like I said, here's a little bit better look at all the warnings across the area here. Tropical storm warnings, basically most of Florida except a small sliver over here towards the Panhandle, some of southwest or southeastern Alabama, all of Georgia, all of South Carolina, and even up towards the mountains of North Carolina as well under a tropical storm warning. And then hurricane warnings all the way up into parts of central Georgia, that is. All right, so here's the current wind field of this storm. You can see how big this thing is. There's tropical storm winds extending out, all the way almost 300-400 miles outside the center of the circulation, which is right in here. So basically in that cone that we're tracking, that we're showing you where this possible thing could go, we're just tracking the center of circulation. Eastern side, the dirty side of a hurricane, is always going to be the most potent. There's going to be tornadoes as well, severe weather, spin up tornadoes, especially up and towards South Carolina. Stuff tomorrow, we're going to go over that. That's a severe weather aspect as well here in just a second. But you see how massive this wind field is. And this is a humongous storm coming up into the southeastern United States and pinwheeling back into parts of Kentucky into Tennessee, with wind gusts possibly over 50 miles per hour even up into Tennessee and Kentucky as well, and even all the way back into parts of the Ozarks, possibly some gusty winds back in that area as well. All right, here is the peak wind threat, just looking at the southeastern United States. So we're looking at parts of the Big Bend area up into parts of just north of Tallahassee into Georgia, possibly 110 mile per hour winds or greater, all the way up into parts of southwestern Georgia. In the red here, basically on the outside of the eye wall here, and then up into parts of Georgia, 74 miles per hour up to 110 miles per hour is possible, all the way up into central Georgia. And then even up into parts of southwestern parts of Alabama, all the way up into Atlanta area, could be dealing with 58 to 74, close to hurricane force winds at times, even up into the Atlanta area. I'm going to tell you, there is a lot of trees down in parts of southern Georgia into parts of the Big Bend area as well. So there's going to be massive tree damage as well with this storm, massive power outages, and even look all the way up into parts of North Carolina, into the mountains, even into Tennessee. Talking 39 to 58 mile per hour winds all the way up into all of South Carolina, into the mountains of North Carolina and into Tennessee. And even outside of that, up to 39 mile per hour winds all the way up into parts of Virginia, into the mountains here as well, and into the parts of North Carolina. So this is going to be a massive storm system, going to have far-reaching effects. We got to look at the flooding threat next. So we're going to look at basically freshwater flooding, and then we're going to look at storm surge as well that's coming in from the Gulf with this storm system. All right, we're going to go over storm surge here. This is the peak storm surge forecast. This is feet above normally dry ground along the coast, okay? So storm surge is the combination of storm surge and tide will cause normally dry areas near the coast to be flooded by rising waters moving inland from the shoreline. The water could reach the following heights above ground somewhere in the indicated areas on your screen as well, if the peak surge occurs at the time of high tide. All right, so Carabel, Florida to Swanee River in Florida, 15 to 20 feet of storm surge is possible. That's absolutely insurvivable unsurvivable storm surge across that area. If your local authorities are telling you to evacuate, you need to rush to completion your property and get your things and get out. Because I'm telling you, if you're near the coast and you encounter 20 foot of storm surge plus breaking waves on top of that, there's going to be a lot of houses that are going to be completely destroyed out of this. And like I said, it's going to be very dangerous and almost unsurvivable storm surge across this area. You have to take this seriously, okay? So Apalachicola, Florida to Carabel, Florida, 10 to 15 foot surge. Swanee River, Florida to Chattahoochee, Florida, 10 to 15 feet. And then from there to Accolade River, 8 to 12 feet. Indian Pass to Apalachicola, 6 to 10 feet. Anacloke River to middle of Longboat Key, 5 to 8 feet. Tampa Bay, 5 to 8 feet as well. If it gets any bigger than that, it could be a record storm surge in Tampa Bay. Middle of Longboat Key to Inglewood, Florida, 4 to 7 feet. Mexico Beach to Indian Pass, 3 to 5 feet. Inglewood, Florida to Flamingo, Florida, 3 to 5 feet. Charlotte Harbor, 3 to 5 feet. Flagler to Volusia County line in Florida to South Santee River in South Carolina, 1 to 3 feet. Walton at Bay County line, Florida to Mexico Beach, 1 to 3. Dry Tortugas and Florida Keys, all 1 to 3 feet of storm surge here. And as you can see on your screen where all this is at, but catastrophic storm surge is possible with this thing. Like I said, unsurvivable storm surge is possible across this area. This is a very dangerous situation coming into parts of Florida. All right, here's the rainfall forecast from the Weather Prediction Center. You can see all the way from basically Tallahassee to Atlanta. We're probably talking 5 to 8 inches, locally a foot of rain possible as well. And then as we get up towards parts of the southern Appalachians here, South Carolina into North Carolina, basically some upslope flow or graphic lifting, we could be talking about 12 to 18 inches of rain up into the southern Appalachian Mountains here of the Carolinas, with locally up to 2 feet of rain. I think it's going to be possible up that way. As you go towards Nashville, up towards Kentucky as well, 3 to 5, maybe locally 6 to 7. And then as you get towards right around Memphis, just north of there, northwestern parts of Tennessee, up towards the boot heel of Missouri and northeastern Arkansas, 3 to 5 inches. And then you get all the way back to Little Rock, possibly Little Rock, up to south central Missouri. And then east of there, probably talking 1 to 3 inches of rain fall, because like I said, there's an upper low back in here, so there's going to be an effect basically where they kind of pinwheels around each other before that main upper low kind of devours the leftovers of this of hurricane this hurricane that's coming into parts of Florida here, and then wrapping back into parts of Tennessee, Kentucky, and back into Arkansas. So it's going to be a very wet and windy week, or late week into the early weekend across most of the Ohio River Valley here into the mid-Mississippi River Valley as well. All right, here's the power outage forecast. As you can tell, widespread power outages is likely across parts of the Big Bend area of Florida, all the way up into parts of Georgia, all the way up to Albany, Tallahassee, and then likely power outages all the way up to Atlanta, Augusta, Savannah, parts of South Carolina there, and then possible power outages all the way up into eastern Tennessee, southeastern parts of Kentucky, along basically the rest of South Carolina, up into the mountains of North Carolina, as well up into Virginia. So power outages are possible up there. All right, there's going to be a tornado threat with this as well. Always on the dirty side, eastern side of a hurricane, there's always some tornadoes that pop up. So across parts of the Florida Peninsula, especially up here in southeastern Georgia, south parts of South Carolina, likely tornado threat through there, basically Charleston and Jacksonville. And then as you get up towards North Carolina and through the rest of South Carolina, just southwest of Atlanta even, there's going to be a possible tornado threat up that way, actually marginal tornado threat up that way as well. So ocean heat content, this is where this storm is going. That means there's basically more fuel for this storm to really suck in, and it's going to be going over some this very rich heat content across the Gulf of Mexico. It's going to go over all these warmer colors here, and then go towards the Big Bend area. So, like I said, this thing could be rapidly intensifying, and we could be waking up tomorrow to an absolute monster of a storm. We've seen these time and time again blow up at night, and we wake up and it's like, oh my goodness, Florida is in trouble or whoever, you know. So we've seen this time and time again where this thing, like I said, rapidly intensifies. Expecting a landfall Cat 4 tomorrow evening between 6 and 8 p.m. across the Big Bend area of Florida, and then rapidly getting through Georgia and then moving its way up towards the southern Appalachians and then back towards the northwest, towards Tennessee and Kentucky into parts of Arkansas and Missouri. Alrighty, we're going to wrap this up. You can see where Helene is in the Gulf of Mexico. We have a new named storm now up into the Atlantic. It's going to stay away from land. This is Isaac. And then there's going to be another named system here in a few days across just off the African coast here, and then move its way probably northeast. I will tell you, I talked about this earlier to our supporters, but there may be another system we're going to have to deal with probably in a week to 10 days in the Gulf of Mexico. So this is going to be a very busy time over the next probably 2 to 3 weeks across the Atlantic Basin. Okay, because everything is exploding right now. Right, I mean, we just came off a peak hurricane season. It's a slow downhill stretch now for the next couple months. So we have a long way to go before this is over. I cannot wait for winter to get here soon enough across the area. All right. So, sum it up, Hurricane Helene is making its approach to Florida and into the southeastern parts of the United States. Expected landfall tomorrow night, Thursday evening. Cat 4 at 130 miles per hour as of right now from the National Hurricane Center. Some models are going higher than that. All right? Stay safe out there. Please listen to your local officials, and they tell you to get out. You need to leave because this storm surge is nothing to play around with. 15 to 20 foot surge is not survivable across parts of the Big Bend area in Florida. All right? Stay safe out there. We'll have more updates on Facebook as we go throughout the rest of the night and into tomorrow.